Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel EduVibe. Today we will start with the another topic of matter and the chemical bonding, which is the properties of the ionic compounds. So we will discuss in last few videos about the ionic bonding, ionic compounds, how we can naming them, how can we write, and in the last lesson we will discuss about the electron diagrams, which is again based on the ionic bonding. But today we'll discuss the ionic properties. What are the ionic compounds properties? So we will discuss those now. So we have that only 5 properties in this, which are the major properties, and we get definitely 1 or 2 questions in MCQ form related to this topic. One for sure, not like 2 for sure, but 1 for sure you get. So the properties of the ionic compounds. So you all know that ionic compounds are non-directional. So this is the point I just want to know, that they are the non-directional. They not have any direction. Okay, because an ionic has the same attraction from all the directions for an ionic of opposite charge. So they moves towards the opposite charge. So main thing is that moves towards opposite charges. So if they have plus and negative, so they move off with it. Negative plus, they move like this. So what are the properties? So first one is the hard. So the non-directional ionic bonds are strong and difficult to break. They are very hard bond. So that very strong and they don't we have to break. This is very hard to break. It's very difficult to break those bonds because they are very strong bonds. We have a brittle. Brittle means the ions cannot be rearranged without breaking a crystal lattice. That crystal lattice is what is that? So ions arranged when they arrange themselves. So when they arrange themselves as a crystal lattice. So a crystal lattice where the maximum total attraction between the cations and the anions occurs. So the attraction between cations and anions occurs. The maximum attraction will happen in this when they arrange themselves. So when we have to break, we didn't rearrange them because the twistor catalyst arrange themselves with that, and this is very the strong attraction. So the maximum strong attraction, and we didn't like break them without breaking them actually. So we have to if we have to rearrange them, so we have to break them, but this not like very easy to break them, as we see here they are very hard. The next one, there is a high melting and boiling point. So this is again strong property of the ionic bondings because they have very large amount of energy to break an ions are bond in all directions. So they require the large amounts of energy to break an ions bond in all directions. So that's why they have a high melting and boiling point. So this is the gain property which is correspond to all the properties that if they have a strong bond, if they have a large amount of energy, so this didn't mean how can we break them. There is no any solution to break them. It's very difficult to break them. So this have to be known. And they're soluble. They are soluble in water. Most are soluble in water because they have the attraction between anions and the partially negative, partially positive and the polar water molecules. We will discuss with other polar molecules. So the polar molecules soluble in water, and because they have attraction between ions and partially negative and the partially positive charges of the water molecules, that's why they're more soluble in water than anything else. So that's how the ionic compounds are so much like strong. They are very strong properties. Stability, they have a more stability. So relatively stable and the unreactive at SATP. SATP means standard ambient temperature and pressure. When we put the standard temperature and pressure on any ionic compound, so they hold that stability. They have a very much stability. So because valence shells are full, so we know that valence shells are full in that ionic compounds. We made those things to stable those valence shells. That's why they have a very like good stability. So what type of question you get? So this all question, what type of question you get? So you get generally question related to the explanation of the properties. For example, you get the question that why ionic crystals form a crystal lattice. So explain why. So this is again from the definition we do that the ions arrange themselves. So they arrange themselves in the catalyst lattice where the methanol attraction between the ions and cations happen or occurs. So that's why the ionic crystals form the crystal lattice. So the another question they get why the ionic compounds are hard. So we have to just read put these things in your own words, or you can just write from here if you know this. So why is brittle? Why is have a high melting boiling point? Why they are soluble in water? Why they are stability? Why they have a more stability? So all the questions you get from their definitions which we discuss. So we have to just write these things because of this, because of this. Like for example, they mentioned that why the ionic compounds have the high melting point and the boiling point. So just write because the ionic bonds require a large amount of energy to break those ions and are bonded in all directions. If you have your own words to write in this, so you can, but it should be in like precise. It should be in correct way. You get to get the MCQs in this most of the time. So if you get MCQs, so it's more easy to like you have to just think like know all the properties in your mind. You just think that what is going on that MCQs. When we do the practice question of this unit, we will discuss those things that how can we deal with that properties type of question. They are the all common questions you get. Like to the definition, explanation of the definition. Just that key thing you have to measure. So that's all for this lesson. So this is a very small lesson, such a small lesson. So learning my same way, EduVibe, learn smarter but not harder. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. If any question related to this topic, let me know in the comment section. In next one, now we have committed with ionic bonding. So now we will discuss the molecular substances. Then we will move on to the covalent bonding. So molecular bonding, how we have to name them, how do we write them, what are those. So I will all discuss in the next lesson. See you in the next lesson. Till then, stay native with EduVibe.